at least you won't have to watch a trailer anymore. So Morbius follows Michael Morbius as he tries to cure himself of a rare blood disease and accidentally turns himself into a vampire. And this movie has been delayed a million times. I've seen the trailer a million times. I was so sick of seeing that damn trailer. I'm just so glad the movie's out just so we don't have to watch a trailer anymore. And guys, it's not a good movie. I'm just going to go right out and say it. It certainly, I wouldn't quite say it's as terrible as some people are making it out to be. It's not like the worst comic book movie ever made or like one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I think that's taking it a little bit too far, but it's not good. Now, the movie certainly has a couple things going for it. It actually starts out pretty solid and sets up a pretty interesting premise, kind of more what the trailers were promising us, and the trailers were completely misleading, by the way, which I will get to. But I'd say the first 20 minutes or so of the movie are pretty interesting, and it sets up an interesting storyline with Michael Morbius and the vampire side of him and trying to have to wrestle with that and try to fix it and deal with that, and, fighting with himself. And then the other thing that's decent about this movie is the acting. Jared Leto's pretty good. Matt Smith, Adria Arjona, I don't know if I'm saying her name right, but she was really solid in the movie. Unfortunately, that's about where the positives end. Because after that first 20 minutes or so, I'm estimating on the time, maybe a little bit more, maybe 25, 30. It goes completely downhill from there and turns into something that isn't even remotely compelling whatsoever. Just becomes completely generic and cliche and boring. Just becomes a hero versus villain thing. All of a sudden, the part where Morbius is trying to fight with the vampire side of himself is completely gone, and he just becomes a total hero. The trailers made it seem like this movie was going to be about Morbius, and then the villain would be himself, the vampire side of him, then the human side of him is the hero, and that he's trying to figure out how to stop the vampire side of him before it kills more people, like the stuff with like the lines from Tyrese, like you help people, you save people, you don't kill them. None of that was in this movie, except for just a little bit after he first turns into the vampire. Instead, what it turns into, and there's going to be slight spoilers here, so if you plan on seeing the movie and don't want to know anything, maybe don't watch this video, maybe come back and watch it after you've seen it, but honestly, I wouldn't bother watching the movie, and this is a small thing anyway, and this informs you on whether or not you'd want to see the movie, so it's up to you, but I'd say don't bother with the movie, and this part is only a small spoiler anyway. It turns into just a him versus another vampire, versus his childhood friend, and it just is just a clash between those two, which to me isn't remotely compelling whatsoever. And the fights between them are garbage. The action in this movie overall is atrocious, especially the third act. It's all just either really terrible, cheesy slow-mo, really terrible CGI, or it's just moving so fast and it's filmed so poorly you have no idea what the hell is going on. Literally some of the worst action I've ever seen in a movie, and that's crazy to say for a 2022 comic book movie. It feels like this was made like 20 years ago. I can't believe this movie was put out today. It's really choppy. The story doesn't flow very well. There's lots of characters. I don't know about lots is the right word, but several characters that were completely unnecessary to the story. Like Tyrese and his partner cop, completely unnecessary. You can take them out of the movie and it changes absolutely nothing. And to go back to what I said earlier about the trailer being misleading, Tyrese was featured very prominently in the trailer. It seemed like he was going to have a pretty big and important role in this movie. And there's lots of lines of dialogue from him and scenes in general in the trailer that just aren't in this movie. So what that leads me to believe is that this movie was edited so many damn times, just hacked to all hell. They made so many different cuts. That's probably why it got delayed so much, because they were doing so much damn editing. And what we got is really bizarre, and I almost, it lost me at several points. I was about to doze off, and I rarely fall asleep watching movies in the theater. I just it couldn't keep my attention at all outside of, again, the first 20 minutes, which was actually pretty interesting. From then on, everything was pretty bad. They tried to do a romance plotline that didn't work at all. Jared Harris, who is a really good actor, was completely wasted in this movie. He was only in a few scenes, and again, another character you could have completely taken out and wouldn't have changed a thing. Guys, this movie is very forgettable, and I almost forgot to talk about the two credit scenes, which are actually neither of them is a post-credit scene. There's one like at the beginning of the credits and one after a little bit of credits, which I appreciate that. Get them out early. That's so people can leave and don't sit through 10, 15 minutes of credits. That's cool. The scenes themselves, they are important, but they're kind of goofy and bad and don't really make any sense. And I'm going to spoil them, so if you really don't want to know, I'm going to hold my hand up while I'm talking about these credit scenes, and I'll put it back down when I'm done. So, the two credit scenes, you see Michael Keaton's Vulture, who somehow gets teleported into, well, first you see the thing in the sky from No Way Home, the multiverse like cracks, and then somehow Michael Keaton ends up in an empty jail cell, Michael Keaton's Vulture, ends up in an empty jail cell in the Morbius Sony universe. And he's like, how the hell did I get here? The first thing he says is, I hope the food's better in this joint. And then, so they plan on releasing him because they have no idea who the hell he is. And then we get the second scene where he meets up with Morbius, and somehow he has his fucking Vulture suit back, which doesn't make a lick of sense, because he got that in the MCU from the alien technology, and he was able to build it from that. How the fuck was he able to build it in this universe, first of all, without that technology, and second of all, seemingly so quickly? It makes no damn sense. But that's not the only thing that makes no sense about this scene. How the hell... So he tells Morbius, like, we should team up, do some good. How the hell did Keaton end up in this universe? That doesn't make any sense, because at the end of No Way Home, everyone was supposed to be back in their proper universe. They were very clear about that. And then somehow, randomly, Vulture ends up in this one. Doesn't make any sense. And now Morbius just wants to team up with him randomly. Even Keaton says we're going to do some good, even though obviously he was in prison jumpsuit, like this guy has been arrested for something. And Morbius, at least in this version, is a hero, which again is another issue I have. They're doing all these so-called villain origin stories in Sony, but none of them are actually villains. So that's weird. Venom, at least, was sort of an anti-hero in the first one. My arm's getting kind of tired. I'm not going to talk about this for too much longer. But I don't know. It doesn't really make any sense to me, and I hope they get Vulture back in the MCU, because I really don't like where this is headed. Alright, so with that being said, guys, this is not a good movie. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. Definitely can't recommend this one. There's really no reason for me to ever want to watch it again or tell anyone that I know that it's worth watching. I'm sure, again, this video isn't very long. It's a movie that I didn't have a ton of things to say about. So I'm probably going to forget about it in a few days, honestly. Very forgettable. It's not, like, offensively bad or anything, but certainly not worth your time at all. I'd go and watch No Way Home again, go and watch X. I wasn't a fan of X, but certainly it appeals to a lot of people. Apparently, Sonic 2, I guess that comes out this coming weekend, is supposed to be pretty good. Apparently, The Bad Guys was pretty good. Watch any of those over Morbius. I just don't really see anyone finding any kind of enjoyment out of this movie. So that being said, guys, if you enjoy my content, hit the like button, subscribe, notification bell to get notified when I post a video. And I got some more stuff coming. Stay tuned. See you soon.